Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden offers a standout blend of XCOM-style tactical combat with real-time exploration and stealth mechanics in a grim yet richly detailed post-apocalyptic world. Players praise the atmosphere, world building, and character design, exploring ruined cities and forests, scavenging for resources, and uncovering the quirky lore of a fallen world offers immersion and satisfaction. The distinctive mutant characters, like a talking duck and a boar, provide humor and emotional depth, adding charm to the bleak setting. The game's combat was frequently described as challenging but rewarding, especially when using stealth to isolate enemies before initiating fights. Many highlighted the joy of adapting strategies, upgrading silent weapons, and outsmarting the AI. Exploration is especially fulfilling due to rewarding item drops and clever world design. The most consistent frustration comes from poor difficulty balancing. Multiple users describe the early game as punishingly hard, so much so that a single mistake could force restarts or even full mission replays. With no room for error and no bench of characters to rotate in, some felt the first hours were more about luck than skill. Ironically, the late game was seen as far too easy, with combat becoming trivial after a certain power threshold. Lack of replayability and post-game content also disappointed users who wanted more after the 20 to 25-hour campaign. No Rest for the Wicked is a visually stunning action RPG that blends Souls-like combat with ARPG elements. Players praise the beautifully handcrafted world, strategic and weighty combat, atmospheric exploration, and intricate world design. The voice acting and boss encounters are standout features, and the evolving city of Sacrament offers meaningful progression. However, user frustration is high due to design choices that feel overly punitive or time-wasting. Real-time delays for upgrading and processing materials, excessive inventory micromanagement, and tool durability systems are often described as anti-fun. Town upgrades and resource farming feel like mobile game mechanics. Additionally, performance issues and poor optimization plague many users, while the lack of fast travel and clunky UI add to the friction. The foundation is strong, but many feel the game currently disrespects the player's time. With refinement, it has the potential to be truly exceptional. The Slurmancer is a charming indie ARPG that shines through its deep customization, evolving weapons, and endgame-focused design. Players praise its flexibility, allowing wildly creative builds, frequent resets, and satisfying loot progression. The art style is appealing, and the combat loop, simple yet addicting, makes for great casual play. With strong support from a small dev team, the game shows passion and polish in many areas. However, major concerns arise in its late-game content. The Warlord system feels disconnected from the rest of the game, lacking meaningful rewards or progression synergy. Progression is often grind-heavy without clear payoff, and the campaign, while humorous, is shallow. Some players also criticize limited skill depth and repetitive gameplay loops. Despite a promising base, the final grind can feel like filler rather than challenge. Great for newcomers to ARPGs, but veterans may find it shallow beyond the surface. Still, a commendable effort by a tiny team. Project Zomboid is an incredibly deep and immersive zombie survival sim, praised for its rich sandbox customization, detailed simulation systems, and unforgiving but rewarding gameplay. With a steep learning curve, it demands time and patience, but offers unmatched replayability, hundreds of hours for many. The community is active, modding is expansive, and the game's flexibility through sandbox settings earns it high marks. However, development is painfully slow. Despite being in early access for over a decade, major features like NPCs remain absent. Frequent save game corruption and unclear death mechanics sour long-term play. Updates, while impactful, are infrequent and often just bug fixes. Many feel the game lacks late-game purpose and that modders are fixing what devs should have addressed years ago. It's a love-hate relationship, brilliant in depth and potential, but bogged down by glacial progress and technical woes. Still, for many, it's worth every minute and one of the best isometric survival RPG games with zombies. Last Epoch delivers a deep, customizable ARPG experience with standout class variety, meaningful loot, and one of the best crafting systems in the genre. Skill and passive trees allow for creative, viable builds, and the Monolith of Fate endgame keeps players engaged with rewarding, scalable content. The time travel theme enriches the game world, and solo-friendly features like loot-focused factions make it accessible for casual players. The last update, 1.2, extended the endgame and is really well received. Now you can customize your endgame maps and target farm unique items. However, the game still feels incomplete. Despite its 1.0 release, it's missing core features promised since Kickstarter, like PvP, achievements, and campaign acts. Seasonal content is underdeveloped, and some updates add grind without rewarding payoff. The new imprinting system, for instance, can be exhausting for those with limited playtime. Quality of life issues, like missing skip options and slow campaign pacing, also frustrate. Still, Last Epoch is a bold and promising ARPG with room to grow. Highly recommended, but best experienced with tempered expectations. Wasteland III is a turn-based RPG that blends tactical combat with rich world-building and dark, often absurd humor. It offers deep character customization, meaningful choices, and a wealth of quirky companions, like a communist robot, a fire-breathing toaster, and a Reagan-worshipping AI. The writing captures a tone reminiscent of classic Fallout, with well-crafted factions and morally gray decisions that impact the world. However, the experience is mixed. Some players find the story disjointed, with inconsistencies and choices that lack real consequence. Combat can feel shallow, with bullet sponge enemies and perks that often lack impact. Technical issues, bugs, and clunky UI further hamper immersion. Still, for fans of narrative-driven RPGs with a weird twist, Wasteland 3 delivers moments of brilliance. Just expect some rough edges along the way. A flawed but fun spiritual successor to old-school Fallout. Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader is a sprawling, story-rich classic role-playing game that brilliantly captures the grandeur and madness of the 40K universe. You command a rogue trader and their retinue across a galaxy of politics, demons, and moral choices, with deep turn-based combat and extensive character progression. The game excels in writing, world-building, and atmosphere, with standout visuals, orchestral music, and voice acting. The experience is emotionally gripping and narratively ambitious, with exploration, empire management, and party dynamics woven seamlessly into gameplay. However, it's not without flaws. The UI is clunky, leveling can feel tedious, and complex ability systems often overwhelm new players. Some filler quests and repetitive combat undercut otherwise strong pacing. Bugs and stability issues persist, albeit less severe than previous Owlcat titles. Still, for CRPG and Warhammer fans, this is a must-play. Jagged Alliance 3 is a worthy and long-awaited return for the franchise, delivering tactical turn-based combat, personality-rich mercenaries, and a vibrant world filled with surprises. Fans praised its humor, character interactions, and deep strategic layers, alongside excellent voice acting and a memorable soundtrack. The game shines in its dynamic side quests, replayability, and smartly implemented autosave system. Customizable difficulty and mod support add further depth and longevity. However, not all is perfect. Some found the gameplay slow and tedious without mods, pointing to oversimplified mechanics, limited weapon variety, and questionable balance, like grenade launchers outperforming snipers. While a strong foundation is here, it sometimes feels like a light version of its predecessors. Despite flaws, Jagged Alliance 3 is a fun and faithful evolution of the series, especially with mods and future updates. Disco Elysium is a one-of-a-kind narrative RPG that masterfully blends noir detective storytelling with profound introspection, political satire, and dark humor. With exceptional writing, haunting atmosphere, and a brilliant skill system where your inner thoughts have voices, it delivers an emotionally rich, deeply personal experience. Whether you're unraveling philosophical debates, chasing clues, or falling apart in your underwear, every moment feels impactful and strangely human. The game's voice acting and soundtrack elevate the immersion, and its world building is dense yet accessible, full of memorable characters and witty, often heartbreaking dialogue. It challenges RPG norms by putting introspection and narrative over combat, offering multiple endings and replayability through varied builds. However, it's text-heavy and not for those who dislike reading. And while critically acclaimed, the treatment of its original developers is a shadow over its success. Buy it on sale if possible, but absolutely play it. Baldurs Gate 3 is a landmark RPG that masterfully fuses Dungeons & Dragons mechanics with rich storytelling, emotional depth, and player-driven freedom. Larian Studios delivers an epic, choice-filled journey where your decisions shape the world. The turn-based combat is creative and dynamic, companions are deeply written, and the voice acting and motion capture adds cinematic flair. Exploration rewards curiosity, and the narrative allows for meaningful roleplay, whether heroic, villainous, or chaotic. However, Act 3 suffers from bugs, performance issues, and disjointed quest design. Some players felt the ending lacked payoff, and the humor or writing tone wasn't for everyone. While gameplay systems are ambitious, they can also be janky, with clunky inventory, inconsistent AI, and overwhelming combat scaling. Despite these flaws, BG3 remains a groundbreaking RPG. It's imperfect but unforgettable, a must-play for D&D fans and genre lovers alike, a new gold standard in modern CRPGs.